Bill Gates has been selling his stocks to prepare for one of history's worst economic crises. Gates is well known as a CEO, and he thrives even more on capital growth. Over the last 20 years, Gates has acquired $50 billion with the help of his fund manager, Michael Larson. Not only did Gates and Larson make billions during the bull run, but they also perfectly predicted the dot-com bubble during the 2008 collapse. This has helped Gates to regularly outperform the S&P 500 and expand his wealth to unprecedented heights. And now, Gates and Larson are preparing actively for what will be one of the worst recessions in history. Today I'll be talking about the 3 major reasons that prompted Bill Gates to sell all his stocks. Stick till the end of the video to find out Gates' investment strategy. Number 1. Stagflation. It's no mystery that we are in a crisis. The US economy is experiencing rapid inflation, historically poor consumer sentiment, the Russia-Ukraine war, low consumer savings rates, and record high debt levels. In 2021, the government tried to inject trillions of dollars into the economy, but 2022 is totally different. With the government withdrawing trillions of dollars from the economy, Gates is particularly worried about the Fed's artificial pitfall that they made for themselves. The economy is currently facing the risk of stagflation, and it is one of the main reasons why Bill Gates is selling his stocks. But if you don't know what stagflation is, don't worry, I'll tell you. Stagflation is like a two-edged sword. On one edge, we have accelerating inflation, while on the other edge, we have huge government debt. The government now has 2 options: destroy the US dollar or wreck the economy, or blow up the debt bubble. The Fed has chosen the second option of slowing the economy at the risk of a catastrophic crash. The Fed recently raised interest rates by 75 basis points, which is the greatest increase since 1994. This increase has a significant impact on slowing inflation, but it comes with serious risks. For starters, we have drastically rising rates, which means that borrowing for business investments and mortgages will be way more expensive. The 30-year fixed-rate mortgage has experienced the greatest 1-week spike in 35 years. If the rate hike slows the economy too much, it might burst the existing debt bubble and create an economic recession or depression. It feels like we're in a new world after the COVID storm and Russian invasion of Ukraine. We are going to be seeing higher energy prices and higher food prices for years to come. It seems difficult to see how this resolves itself very quickly. By the way, are you enjoying this video? Please give it a like and hit the subscribe button if you like content about business, economy, and crypto. It really helps me grow the channel. Number 2. Economic slowdown. Another reason for Gates' bearish stance is the inevitable economic slowdown. In an interview with CNN, Gates was asked how he sees the war in Ukraine affecting the global economy over the next few years. Gates said it comes on top of the pandemic where government debt levels were already very, very high, and there were already supply chain problems. It's likely to accelerate the inflationary problems that rich world economies have and force an increase in interest rates that eventually will result in an economic slowdown. I'm afraid the bears on this one have a pretty strong argument that concerns me a lot. The bear theory that Gates is discussing sounds logical. Oil price hikes are known to be connected with recession. The grey bars in this graphic indicate previous recessions in the US economy. You can see how a recession nearly always follows when Brent crude oil reaches $100 per barrel. Brent crude oil is currently trading at around $120 per barrel, which is a clear hint that a recession is on the way. Rising oil costs are a tax on consumers, which is why a recession nearly invariably follows when oil prices break $100. High gas prices pull cash directly out of the pockets of consumers. This not only leaves the consumer with less money to spend, but also has a significant negative impact on consumer sentiment. According to the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index, consumer sentiment is currently at its lowest point since the 2008 recession. The economy moves in loops, with debt levels seasonally peaking and bottoming. Gates and Larson realized that the year 2021 was full of uncertainty. The absolute opposite of this is on the way, a significant economic downturn. Gates and Larson have been executing several hedging strategies in preparation for a crash in the US stock market. Stock shorting is one of these strategies. Short positions, unlike long positions, are not disclosed to the public. The SEC is looking to change this with a new proposal, but we have no idea what stocks Gates is actively shorting until that happens. Keeping that in mind, we know Gates has a short position in Tesla shares since Elon revealed it himself. Gates promotes himself as a major advocate of sustainable technologies, but Musk argues that his Tesla short position contradicts this. Musk tweeted that since Gates still has a multi-billion-dollar short position against Tesla while claiming to help with global warming, I guess I have some trust issues with him too. Gates and Musk were about to meet to talk about philanthropy, but leaked messages showed that Gates' Tesla short position hindered the meeting from occurring. Gates texted 7:20 on Wednesday to be clear, to which Elon replied by saying, "Great." Gates then told Elon that he just landed. Elon said, "Cool, do you still have $500 million short position against Tesla?" Gates admitted that he had a short position. He said, "Sorry to say, I haven't closed it out. I would like to discuss philanthropic possibilities." Gates' Tesla short position is not a mystery at all, and these messages were true. Although Tesla stocks surged substantially in 2021, the development of NFTs was the pinnacle of the bubble. NFTs such as the Bored Ape Yacht Club skyrocketed hundreds of percent before plummeting by more than 80% in 2 months. While the Ethereum platform has long-term potential, there is no reason for images of apes to be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Gates recently slammed the Bored Ape Yacht Club for its lack of purpose. He said, "I don't know, obviously expensive digital images of monkeys are going to improve the world immensely, and that's so incredible. Anyway, I'm used to asset classes where, like a farm where they have output or a company where they make products and where it has it at its heart, sort of this anonymity that you avoid taxation or any sort of government rules about kidnapping fees or anything. Anyway, I'm not involved in that. I'm not long or short in any of those things." Number 3, the pandemic. Bill Gates has also taken the pandemic and its effects into consideration while strategizing his next moves. In 2022, stock investors suffered their worst start to a year since 1970, with the S&P 500 falling 21% during the first half of 2022. According to Gates, there is no way for that to be the case. The economy was much stronger before the pandemic. Consumer activity was high and so was the supply. The pandemic has a significant impact on both consumers and suppliers. Money printing cannot simply restore economic activity to pre-pandemic levels. The pandemic's economic damage is still being felt today. Concerns about this disease have completely affected people's behavior in terms of wanting to travel, attend events, or even go out for a meal. People won't feel safe until and unless we can track and manage COVID 100%. The economic slowdown will be restored only when folks can confidently go out to their jobs, for a movie, or to the beach. Unfortunately, we are nowhere near that kind of medical success. So until then, no one should believe that the government will flick a switch and the economy will return to pre-pandemic levels. That is dependent on either a miraculous therapy with a healing rate of more than 95% or widespread use of the vaccine. So, we've had a demand-side shock as well as a supply-side shock. And the demand-side shock is transmitted by both fear of infection and the overall wealth implications of many people losing their jobs, and entire industries will be running at a much lower level than in a normal economy. Aside from the shaky economic scenario, Gates does not believe the pandemic is over. According to Gates, there is still a chance that this pandemic will produce a version that is even more infectious and lethal. So, in addition to rising inflation and liabilities, we have a pandemic that could still get worse. All of these reasons have combined to bring the United States on the verge of a terrifying economic and social crisis. When it comes to investing, Gates has a strategy. Gates thinks that productive assets are his specialty, although he has actually been selling his assets. His most recent quarterly filing for the first quarter of 2022 revealed that he sold millions of shares in numerous companies. This includes more than $1.3 billion in Berkshire Hathaway shares, $500 million in Caterpillar stock, and a slew of other stocks. To understand why Gates is selling his investments, we must first look at Michael Larson's plan. Larson is the operations mastermind. He understands how to optimize alpha, which is often defined as a risk-adjusted return in the investment world. According to people close to him, when the market plummeted dramatically during the 2008 recession, Gates' net worth decreased just slightly. Although Larson's strategy has been hidden, we know from public documents that he follows Warren Buffett's investment strategy. When we look at the companies in Gates' portfolio, we can see that the majority of them are not affected by economic swings. One example is Gates' $3 billion investment in waste management. Diversifying into different asset classes is another facet of Larson's plan. Gates is the largest US private owner of farmland for 2 reasons: high alpha and diversification. From 1991 to 2018, farmland generated more than 11% return on average, with no negative years. This is because people will not stop eating food during a recession. Farmland can have a high alpha since it provides significant rewards with little to no downside. Larson is also well known for his investments in alternative assets, such as private equity, which involves the purchase of private enterprises. Private equity, like farmland, is not accessible to retail investors like you and me. However, for Gates, private equity is an excellent opportunity to diversify his portfolio and further hedge it. Are you selling stocks like Bill Gates, or are you buying the dips? Let me know in the comments down below. If you learned something new from today's video, click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon to be the first to see my next video. I make deep dives like this every week where I uncover the secrets of money and business.